Hello, and welcome to the Comic-spiracy, episode 196. Before we get into our regular episode, though, it's not often I do this, but there was actually some extremely large breaking news as came on the internet here from the time it took me to get from the store to my house. I figure I should talk about that. My name is Ryan Higgins. If you have never listened to this podcast before, if you have, you know we like to talk about comic books and especially a lot of the comic movies. Big news coming out of Sony and Marvel, and that is that they have reached a deal where they will be co-producing the upcoming Spider-Man movie, moving Spider-Man now into the Marvel Universe. Marvel Cinematic Universe, that is. Some of this, there's not a ton of info yet. Variety, Deadline, a lot of these companies have posted up some info here. Sounds like Kevin Feige will co-produce the upcoming Spider-Man reboot. Again, another reboot. With Amy Pascal, who was the head of Sony, who stepped down recently to be involved with whatever they were going to do with Spider-Man. That kind of big news last week, but I don't think we even talked about it because we didn't deal in just the Sony movie stuff, but obviously now very important. So Kevin Feige is, one of the heads of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and so he's actually going to be working with Sony, and Disney will be working with Sony as well to make the Spider-Man movie happen. And that's going to involve, apparently, the first appearance of Spider-Man in a Marvel movie, more than likely Captain America Civil War, as rumored a few months ago. They're going to open up a new Spider-Man movie July 28th, 2017. There's no talk of who's going to be in it. I'm assuming not Andrew Garfield. I actually liked him. I thought he did a good job. I just thought, if you listen to the podcast, myself and a couple of the other members of the podcast thought the movies were pretty terrible. So hopefully this movie is closer to the tone of the Marvel Cinematic movies that we've come to expect. So where was I here? July 28th, 2017. That is the new Spider-Man movie. More than likely he'll be in Captain America Civil War before that. That actually does affect a few of the other movies. Marvel did reschedule a whole bunch of movies. They just announced this as well. Thor Ragnarok pushed back to November 3rd, 2017. Black Panther moved up to July 6th, 2017. Inhumans got moved back to December 2019. And Captain America got pushed back to November 2018. So I'm not sure what else they're going to do. If we're going to see any other movies change around, it's very possible, though. What is kind of interesting is that Sony gets kind of final say here, so we're not 100% sure. I'd hate to see all this go through and the movies still have that Sony issues that I think a lot of people had issues with the current ones. They're going to have kind of final say in everything. Hopefully Marvel and Disney can work their magic and get Sony to make a pretty decent Spider-Man movie. Well, obviously we'll have a lot more to say about this next week with a full podcast crew. Just figured it was big news, so I'd break in here before we have our normal episode and talk about it briefly. Go on the internet, go on Variety, go on Deadline. You can read these articles, get as much info as we have, obviously, which is not a ton, but hopefully we'll know more next week. So thank you, and now here's your regular podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Comic-spiracy, episode 196 for the week of February 9th, 2015. My name is Ryan Higgins, and who is here with me this week?
Brock Sigger.
Toby. Darley. And Bryce. No, that's it. It's just Brock. It's me and Brock. This is an old school.
Like a throwback.
Actually, Toby is on his way. But we were recording a little early tonight just because it was just us. But Toby is coming. But we're like, we're just going to start. Toby, get here when you can get here. So
you'll get like a little bit of an episode of just you and me.
For all of you that wanted those throwback episodes, the first, 50 episodes or whatever, which nobody wants.
People want them.
Here we
I've
are.
Heard it.
So
they just don't tell you that because
Toby's yelling at me over text. So I'm just going to tell him.
You should just read the text.
Said you'd be here at 6:30. Winky face, smiley face.
You got to emote something, right?
Winky face, smiley face. There we go. Okay. Anyway, what's happening, Brock? It's 6:36. We waited 6 extra minutes to start recording. So we have kind of a weird episode this week because it's not often we get to spend too much time on one topic here, but that's kind of what today's going to be. I went to the DC Comics retailer meeting this past Friday in Burbank, California, and then
what are you spending your weekends in LA now? I mean,
Jesus, I know. But then it was also the reveal of the DC, not the new 52, it's the new 24, I guess you can call it. And yeah, so they announced what's coming up. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to take quite a bit of this podcast talking to tell you guys what DC's up to, what I saw at the retailer meeting, and then what they're doing for their upcoming books they have, which is quite a bit. So we have a number of titles here to talk about. Let's go over the list, the boring list.
The boring list.
The boring list is the 25 books that DC is continuing in the month of June, post-Convergence and everything like that. If you've listened to the previous episodes, you've probably heard us talk about Convergence, which is the big 2-month event coming from DC in April and May, in which they're going
89 issues total?
89 issues total. 42-issue miniseries based on characters. And actually I have more about Convergence here in a little bit. And then they're going to have the 9-issue Convergence miniseries taking place during that time. Actually, let me talk about that for a little bit here before we get to these, because Convergence does kind of predate this. Yeah. So at the retailer meeting, which was in Burbank, California, at this time it was at the
Swank Hotel.
Yeah, it was just the hotel there, but they're actually having a DC Pro Summit there this week as well.
I saw Snyder tweeted something like he took a picture with Batman, the Batman statue in the Burbank.
So that's at the Warner Brothers, right? So my friend Seth, who works at Warner Brothers, he's one of their tour guides and works in like customer relation type with people that go see the shows and everything like that. He actually took me around and we kind of got to walk around. Did the Batman 75th anniversary museum that they have set up there, which is awesome. Some great pictures up there. Just costumes from all the different movies. Nothing behind glass. It's all just right there, so you can really get a good look at them. Some really, really cool stuff. They so all those pictures. If you saw Scott Snyder or Gail Simone or some of these people tweeting over the weekend, I was there on Friday. I mean, it was just the day before people started showing up. So it's pretty cool stuff. If you get a chance to go to Burbank and go to Warner Brothers, you can take one of their tours of the lot where they take you around and kind of drive you around a little buggy and they show you. Tell
them you know Seth Kane, and they'll go. Who?
I did. I sent Toby a picture of this. One of the places we went by was where the store that sells the Gremlins, that sells the Mogwai in Gremlins was. It's where they filmed. It's like down the stairs and everything. Like there was a shot of like the outside of the building of where they had that set up. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
So
there was no snow on the ground, right?
No. Well, it's weird because all the sets are. All kind of outdoor sets. They use these things for tons of movies and TV shows. They reuse them all.
They dress them differently. They paint them differently.
Yeah, so some of them are painted different. They take out a lot of the glass. They put in like plexiglass with different signs and everything. So it's pretty cool stuff. But yeah, definitely gonna do that if you get a chance.
So Convergence. Convergence. Sorry to sidetrack.
Well, no, this is fine because Toby doesn't care about this crap. He's missing it anyway. So some of the stuff, some things that were kind of they talked about at this retailer meeting. Which I'll get into a little bit more, the specifics in the meeting. But they did kind of mention a few things that they wanted to clarify. One was that Convergence, I have a bunch of notes here. Multiversity, very important to Convergence, actually. More important than I think a lot of people realize, especially the handbook that came out a few weeks ago.
Did you get a chance to read through that?
No, not yet.
I read through
the whole thing?
Individual.
Yeah.
And so they explain 45 of the worlds.
Yeah.
So they give us a really brief description on 45 of the worlds. 7 of the worlds are unknown.
Okay.
So they don't know.
And I think that's going to tie in with Convergence.
But yeah, if you've ever read any of the Elseworld stuff, or you've read any stuff from kind of multiple Earths, I definitely recommend picking up that guidebook because it's really cool to kind of go back and see, and the little bit of clarification of like what planets these are and stuff like that. So
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's really important to what they're doing in the DC universe, especially if you want to know more info from where these guys come from. But the major spots from Convergence are going to be kind of the pitch is that Brainiac, he's been grabbing these cities, and this is something I didn't realize quite as much, right before their timeline ends. So the cities that have been grabbed are 2011 DC Universe, so pre-Flashpoint, like right there, right before Flashpoint happens.
Now, what city?
What's that?
You said he was grabbing cities, so what city did he grab?
City. He just grabs like parts of the planet or whatever. I don't think it's not necessarily.
He picked up the key. He picked up Gotham, Metropolis, right, Keystone,
right, where everyone was.
Central
at the time.
City. Yeah.
The second week, those books. So the first week, all those characters are from the Flashpoint. Like in that one, we knew. The second one is a little more clear. These are actually just pre-Zero Hour. So those versions of the characters, 1993. Week 3, it's all pre-Crisis, so just before Crisis, 85.
Okay.
And then the previous are pre-Crisis, the same, 1985, but the multiverse aspects of it. So some of those are a little clearer. I thought they were going to do more like Silver Age, but I guess it's actually just the multiverse guys. So again, a little more clarification there on what they're doing with those books. And just because these characters are kind of they're not necessarily going away at the end of this. I did talk with Dan Didio a number of times through the meeting, especially afterwards, and he did clarify a few things. There's a pitch they've been using that every story matters, and he said that there's going to be some aspects of that, especially. Okay. It sounds like to me that we are getting kind of the return of the full Crisis, like the full infinite universes, that everything ever said in any DC comic ever has happened. There's no strict continuity. The multiverse is, we're getting stories from the multiverse at this point. So
I'm waiting for the little info dumps at the beginning of an issue that tell you what planet you're on.
No, nothing like that's going to happen, and we'll definitely get into that later. So each book is going to have a couple different things. There's going to be a one-page recap of what was going on with these characters.
What?
Yeah.
Recaps in a DC book? Hold on.
A one-page recap in each title to kind of tell you what was going on with these characters before this book. So sort of where they were.
That's good.
Where they were. And then a two-page character synopsis will also be included in those to kind of give you more backgrounds on the characters and what was happening during that point. One thing that I know a lot of people were asking about was those Chip Kid variant covers. I don't know if you saw those, where it's like half face and the other half is like yellow or black, and it kind of fades into a weird color, where he takes a kind of a Roy Lichtenstein approach at a bunch of classic DC characters.
Okay.
There's a couple things for that. Two, the way they're broken up, where you have the face on the left half and kind of a black cover or yellow cover, red cover, or whatever on the right half. The following month is going to be the flip side of that image, so you see the opposite half of it. So they kind of, if you get both, they sort of will mimic like one real picture. These are taken from the year or just about the year where they're kind of accessing these stories from. So kind of more key issues as to key scenes from the books right around that time. And then they're trying to invoke like I don't know, the emotion, like a very emotional face in some fashion. But one thing that a lot of people were worried about is because all the credits say Chip Kidd, when this is actually all art by other people, just kind of he touched it up and redid it a little bit. So people were saying, hey, what's the deal with this? Are we going to get compensated? Are they going to get compensated? Are they going to do any of this stuff? So they actually said not only are they getting credited inside the book, I don't think they're getting cover credit. I think it's just inside the book, but they're actually getting compensated for the use of the art. So that's a really cool thing.
Those variants, are they going to be 50-50?
No, it's going to order whatever you want.
Oh, okay. So it's like what they've been doing before.
Yeah. It's going to order whatever you want. And here's Toby. Toby, what's happening, man?
Hello.
Sorry, you missed the intro part. We were talking about Convergence, but you already know what books you're getting. You don't care why they exist. You just
Divergent or Convergence?
Convergence. Yeah, we'll talk about Divergence next.
Okay.
Yeah, you just want your Barbara Gordon Nightwing book. I saw all your fuck yeses in the previews.
Excellent,
yeah.
as you should.
Yeah. So, continuing on with what's coming up, I guess the next thing to talk about, and I'll talk about the retailer meeting here in a little bit. So it was actually a lot of retailers were there. I think, except for maybe the first one with the D52, this may have been the most that I've seen. It was a good group. It was the large group of people. I'll say it's a good group of people because some of the same yahoos from the first time were there asking just the worst questions.
Well, give us an example of worst question. Come on.
So there's a rep I've dealt with at Diamond that's talked to me a number of times before, and he said one of the things he liked about dealing with me is that even though I have concerns and questions, I understand that every store is unique, and every store has kind of unique problems. Mm-hmm. A few people there are not aware that they are unique. They think that the industry is the same as what their store is, and that the problems that they have are
worldwide,
industry-wide.
So they're wondering why nobody's ordering Bomb Queen?
Someone asked, like, why aren't all the books $3.99? Nobody cares about the prices, which got a huge laugh from, like, half the audience who were like, what? Of course they care about the prices. Just things like that. Just so you could tell some of these guys are just... And one of these guys specifically was one of the guys from the previous retailer meeting who I'm just like... I roll my eyes every time he brings up something. And the guy behind me actually, I guess he knows him to some degree because he was like cracking comments the whole time about this guy. And it was really funny. So I don't know what story he's from or what his name was or anything.
You need to like videotape this shit.
You can't. But
no, not them talking, like the crowd. Like videotape the idiot
There was
retailers.
less idiot this time. The last time was bad. The last time was just like mind-numbing questions constantly. This time there was so much information, we didn't really have a lot of time for questions, which was good.
Did you ask a question?
I asked a couple, yeah, and I short and to the point, I think. So, one of them was about something we'll talk about here with the.
So cute that you have notes.
Continuing of, I took notes for the podcast.
You're like pulling a Bryce.
No, well, maybe a little bit. So
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
he has his talking points. He's ready.
Oh, because because one thing I just remembered about the second month of Convergence, which we were just talking about. Every Convergence book is going to have a brand new exclusive 8-page preview of an upcoming DC comic.
Well, is it any upcoming comic, or is it an upcoming comic related to that title?
I mean, they're not all going to be related. So
8 pages?
8-page.
That's a lot.
Exclusive. So these 8 pages are going to be available.
Or are they like issue zeros that are not going to be an individual issue?
Well, so there's 49 books that will be out post-Convergence, and more will be added later.
Yeah, I keep thinking of this teen movie when you say Convergence or Divergent or whatever it is.
I think you're doing the Divergence?
Yeah, but what's the sequel called? But what's the sequel called?
To Divergent?
I think it's called Convergence or whatever.
Oh,
I have no idea. So, of the 49 books that will be out, which we'll get to that list in a minute here, they'll have 40 of those printed previews. But actually, all 49 previews will be available for free online.
Oh, that's good.
And they're going to give them to comic stores in some fashion to distribute digitally or whatever.
So they're really pushing the new 52.
Yeah. And those preview pages they're not previews of the issue. They're brand new original stories that will only be in the trade paperback past that.
Oh, wow.
So if you want the books, you may want to grab them digitally, or you may want to grab the Convergence.
So we're going to have a Goon story on us again, right? So if there's a first appearance on that, then...
Before the actual... But it is, I mean, this is a full-on original story
Yeah.
by the actual creative team. Not acting as like a prelude or anything. Maybe a little bit, but it's not like... It's not like
it's kind of like a chunk, little chunk intro story.
Yeah, it's just a short
or something
little,
that carries it over or
maybe,
brings
but
you into it.
I don't think they're required reading, but they're definitely they're just teasers, kind of getting you ready for the series. But those will all be available online too. So even if you don't buy any Convergence issues, you can read those. They said they're really trying to push these books going forward. So again, a lot of people have asked why the $4 price point. Well, that's part of it, plus the recap and characters
and they're
bios
actually
and stuff. So,
and they're going to have a few more pages of normal story.
I think the main story is the same page, but they're adding this other stuff in it to bump up the price. So,
I was wrong. The sequel is called Insurgents. So we got Divergent, Insurgent, and then DC event is called Convergence.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
But Convergence goes into Divergence.
Well, we do have Divergent. which is the newly announced Free Comic Book Day for DC.
So there is something the same.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so I was not completely off.
So Divergent has an original 8-page story from Jeff Johns and
this is Divergent
Jason,
Zero?
It's the Free Comic Day book. And Jason Fabok that is going to be the prelude to the next big Justice League arc, which I'm assuming is a Darkseid War. Right? I believe they may have even announced that.
Darkseid War. That sounds cool.
Yeah. Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo will have a brand new original 8-page Batman story, which will be the new status quo and a lead into the next major Batman story arc. And then John Romita Jr. and just announced creator on Superman post Jeff Johns leaving, Gene Yang.
Yeah,
very surprising, very surprising. But again, we'll talk about him more a little bit later.
The artist is still John Romita Jr.
That's what I said.
And kind of the new.
I will also be down for Gene Yang to draw it himself. It'll be a completely different Superman, though.
Yeah, and the new status quo and everything for Superman. So. Divergent suddenly becomes the absolute #1 Free Comic Day book. I'm excited for the Secret Wars one too, but that's huge.
Johns and a Snyder. You can't beat that.
Yeah. So
sorry, Bryce. You can't. Hickman and Remender and Aaron can't beat that.
He's going to kill you in your sleep.
So on Friday before the retailer meeting, they actually did announce what was going on with DC Comics come June, and that is we have 25 continuing titles. And they announced 24 new titles, with more to be announced later. And surprisingly, even though these books were not announced canceled as part of the March sort of initiative, pre-Convergence, they actually are also ending, along with the list we mentioned a little while ago, if you go back and listen to that. Batman and Robin, Constantine, Earth 2, Justice League Dark, Justice League 3000, Red Hood and the Outlaws, and Supergirl. Now, some of these books are continuing in a new fashion.
Constantine is, isn't it?
Yeah. So we'll get to the full list here. I'm going to go over the books that are continuing. I'll only mention the creative teams if there's a switch in some of the creators. Action Comics, Aquaman, which has a new creative team of Cullen Bunn and Trevor McCarthy, which I'm very excited for that. Batgirl, Batman, Detective Comics, Batman, Superman, Catwoman, who has a new artist, I believe, Deathstroke, Flash, Gotham Academy, Gotham by Midnight, who Ben Templesmith is leaving, but he's not an ongoing artist guy. That doesn't surprise me. Grayson, Green Arrow, which has a whole new creative team of Ben Percy and Richard Zerker, and there's rumor of them actually restarting with a new #1 as well, so I don't know what's up with that. Green Lantern, Harley Quinn, Justice League United, which is going to have Travel Foreman and Paul Pelletier along with another writer, but not announced yet. Lobo, which is surprising. Secret Six, Sinestro, New Suicide Squad. Is Carlos Standa been...
Carlos Standa is going to be on there.
That's new, right?
Yeah.
He's new on that book.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. He's actually a perfect fit for that book.
Yeah, he's a good
artist. Because he really likes drawing big guns and all that kind of stuff.
What has he done again?
Huh?
Did he do like a lot of Deathstroke?
He did some of the Deathstroke.
Blow.
Yeah, Death Blow. Yeah.
Okay.
He's freaking cool, though.
Yeah, he's a good artist.
He did a lot of the stuff in the game, like the DC Online game. A lot of those X-Wildstorm guys are all in the game, really. That's kind of where they all went, yeah.
Superman, again, new writer, Gene Yang. Superman, Wonder Woman, Teen Titans, and Wonder Woman. Now, Superman, that's kind of a big deal. Gene Yang is a very well-known independent comic creator, American-born Chinese, won a ton of awards. I think it won a couple Eisners as well. Very, very popular Bay Area guy, too, local. So that's super cool. And this is definitely, they're going for a very outsider superhero comic.
Honestly, I mean, it's the way I look at this one is kind of like how they lured Greg Pak into writing Hulk or whatever he did for Marvel. So I can see him doing a really good job. I mean, just kind of like seeing what Greg Pak's been doing for comic books. I could see Gene Yang doing just the same.
Yeah.
I mean, while Greg Pak came from independent movies, Gene Yang comes from independent books. So I think he can do something nice with this.
I hope so.
It's just going to be hard to look at.
Yeah. That was kind of the big bummer. I was like, wait. Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Well, so on top of that, they announced 24 new titles, and I do have some notes on some of these. Part of, though, I want to talk about this a little bit before I go over the titles. Marvel has had quite a bit of success, both sales-wise and kind of review-wise, if you will, from a lot of the books they have that are sort of continuity light, kind of letting the creators do what they want to do. Obviously, Silver Surfer, a personal favorite of a number of them on the podcast. She-Hulk as well.
Thor to an extent, Spider-Man to an extent.
To an extent, I mean, those are still kind of your big books. They are kind of doing their own thing, but there is sort of a more continuity going on there. I'm thinking more like Squirrel Girl,
Punisher,
Miss Marvel, Punisher,
Black Widow.
right? Black Widow. So again, not all of them are huge sale juggernauts, but they all are reviewed well. For the most part, they have good audiences. Miss Marvel, especially, has been a huge hit, and DC kind of has done some experimentation, and especially with Batgirl. And Gotham Academy, they found some success here. There's actually
with Gotham Academy, right?
Yeah.
Not with Batgirl.
Well, they've had very big success with Batgirl. Talking with DC, Batgirl numbers are
just not here.
Huge. So I actually talked to DC about this, and it wasn't Dan Didio, it was one of the other guys that was there. But I did talk to him for a little bit, and he was asking, what do you think of the books, kind of what's going on. I wish I could remember the guy's name. I'm totally blanking on it. But I said, Batgirl is a perfect example of a book where our sales are actually down pretty decent on that book compared to the Gail Simone stuff. We had a lot of fans of that series here, and the new series just hasn't hit. However, I don't want the book to go away. I want more books like this. They may not all work at every store, but again, like every store being different, I want the experimentation, because if it means we're just going to get a bunch of shit, I don't want that. I want new books that try to push the envelope and do something different.
And it gets in a completely different crowd.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's this on the Newsroom article here, when this is quoting the press release they came out with. I'm gonna read a little bit here. It says, and they talked, this it seems a little buzzwordy, but they actually talked about this very openly at the retailer meeting. So it says, beginning in June, DC Entertainment is de-emphasizing continuity, which is not entirely true, but we'll get that in a bit, and scrapping the New 52 branding off its superhero comic line, as the publisher launches a bold new direction for the DC Universe and a slew of new titles it's calling inclusive, contemporary, and accessible. And that is true. They actually are taking the New 52 tag off. Is a quote from Dan Didio. In this new era of storytelling, story will trump continuity as we continue to empower creators to tell the best stories in the industry. In June, DC reported it will publish 24 new number ones to join the 25 already existing comics that will continue from their March numbering for a total of 49. New titles will be added down the line throughout the year. So, and to
Does that include the weekly titles?
There are no weekly titles on the list.
Are they going? But I thought they were doing weekly titles after.
There's none that have been announced. Batman Eternal is coming back in some fashion, but nothing announced yet. And this is also to quote the Newsarama article. And to clarify, although DC is no longer using the New 52 moniker, the 2011 launched rebooted DC Universe is apparently sticking around, with just less emphasis on the new universe's continuity and more emphasis on diversifying the line. So that was sort of one of the big things that Dan Didio and Jim Lee were talking about at the meeting. They really want to diversify the line because they have a much more diverse audience now. When they launched the New 52...
Well, I think the diverse audience was always there. It's just Image and all the other people have been making use of it.
Sure.
It's time for DC to step up also.
I mean, look at Aquaman and the Others, right? That book is separate from anything else that's going on in DC, and I really enjoy reading the book.
Okay.
Especially with Aquaman itself. It's Aquaman's story. It's
Aquaman and the Others is actually the absolute perfect book of what they're trying to get away from, because it's just another Aquaman book. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just another Aquaman book. What they're trying to say is that Dan Didio again said this in a very, very surprising thing to hear someone in a sales industry say. They said, if you are buying our entire line of comics, you're doing it wrong. We don't want that. That means they're all the same. Mm-hmm. That means the books are too similar, reaching the same audience. We want you to not like some of the books. I mean, this is what he was... I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but this is what he was saying.
Well, that's the practical approach, because that way you're getting people that will constantly go into shops and buy what they want and keep coming back coming back and
because
coming back.
If the only people buying DC Comics were buying every single book, that means all the books are the same, that means there's a huge chunk of audience, which for the last 75 years, comics has done a pretty good job of ignoring.
Yeah.
Right? And there are books that, Sandman is a perfect example of a book that, they had a 50% female readership on that book. Unheard of anything in comics, even to this day, right? They were trying.
I mean, they even bring the Vertigo line in play. I mean, the people that read the Vertigo lines are not the same people that read the superhero books.
No, not at all.
Like, they're completely different.
Right. So they really are trying to, diversify the line as the audience diversifies. The book's launching in June. You need no previous knowledge to read. Obviously, less so maybe with something like Justice League, but they're not getting rid of continuity books and events and stuff like that. They are just trying to de-emphasize.
They're just telling stories.
Exactly, and like Marvel has said, they're trying to let the creators tell the stories they want. One thing DC and Marvel has done this too. It's just less vocal. Is when books have been approved, editorial comes in and mucks it up and changes stuff at the last minute.
Oh, yeah.
That's something DC's been fighting for a long time, but especially since the New 52 started. And although they've gotten really good at it recently, people still believe this is constantly happening when it really hasn't. You haven't heard those same complaints in the last year or two.
Yeah, we haven't had the Gail Simone fiasco.
There were some in J.H. Williams on Batwoman.
Yeah.
There were some issues going on, and that mentality seemingly is being taken away from DC.
Does this mean we're actually going to have married characters?
Sure,
in the DC
we could
universe?
if they want to. They want the books to do what the books do, and if they're involved in crossovers or events or bigger stories, they can be. But like they're doing for Endgame, so all the creative teams in the books crossing over with the big Batman Endgame story have crossover issues. They're all one-shots. They're not part of the main line. They're by the regular creators, but they're not actually in the normal story arc. So they're not interrupting the main flow of the book, and those books are completely ignorable if you don't want to. However, if you're reading Batman, you don't have to buy Batgirl number 40 or 39 or whatever to buy the crossover. You could just buy the crossover point. I hope they do more of that.
I kind of like all this because that's kind of what turned me off in the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, you know that. I mean, I've been reading a book, and certainly it's in a crossover I really have absolutely no care
Catwoman. We talked Catwoman a number of times as being the poster child for, like, there was 6 normal issues of Catwoman published, and the other 6 were crossovers. Yeah. And what different crossovers, and what a disaster.
Well, that's what the new Suicide Squad or the Suicide Squad suffered from. Because it crossed over with Resurrection
every
Man.
book. Every book suffered from it.
They also said this is not. There was no event after event treadmill. Especially there was lots of jabs at Marvel during this event too.
Yeah, I was going to say,
and that was one of the times. But if you actually look at something like Batman kind of went Court of Owls, Death of the Family, 0 Year. That is also an event to an event treadmill. Again, Batman can have their big arcs, but it shouldn't affect the other titles.
Well, okay, so that brings up Batman Eternal. Like I've finally gotten caught up with Batman Eternal, and it's great. It's it's this big giant Batman story that feels like a Batman event book.
Yeah.
Right? Now it necessarily doesn't need to be weekly, but I don't have to go out and buy Catwoman, and I don't have to go out and buy Batwoman or any of the other Bat titles. Like I can just read this nice Batman event contained within itself. Now, stuff that's happening in Catwoman is, directly connected to it in some fashion, but I don't need to read that stuff to be key to reading, the main one.
Right. So that's, it's good to see them doing that. So let's go over.
All right, let's go over this list.
It's funny that you mentioned all that because out of that list, some of the books I'm most excited about are those specific books that are kind of out of the norm.
All right. So let's go over this list here. We have Robin, Son of Batman, written and drawn by Patrick Gleason, who is the current artist on Batman and Robin. Mm-hmm. So he's going to take over. I believe this is a miniseries. Don't quote me on that. I don't see it listed here as a miniseries.
Only say it if it is a miniseries. Because I think there's like 1 or 2 that are actually listed.
There's a couple. Yeah, there's a couple.
I would say don't say it's a pot. Like just leave it as these are ongoing, but it could be a miniseries.
Well, somewhere this News Around My article doesn't actually list any of these as miniseries, and some definitely are. So this is ongoing Damian book.
Yeah,
Batman.
Which Batman,
maybe not in it.
Batman and Robin was the father-son, Bat book with Damian in it for a decent amount of time, and then Damian died, and then it became Batman and whoever they decided to throw in the book. But I mean, I've enjoyed Batman and Robin since it started.
Black Canary by Brendan Fletcher, who is writing Batgirl right now, and Annie Wu. So again, looks like not I want to say a different take, but they're doing some different stuff with Black Canary there. Martian Manhunter by Rob Williams and Ben Oliver. I like Ben Oliver; he's a good artist. So here's one of those books that believe is kind of replacing a book that already exists. Earth 2, Society. So not sure if this is going to be just straight up the new Earth 2 book, kind of like Volume 2.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of this doesn't have... A lot of these books they haven't really talked about, but they did talk about some of them at the retailer meeting, which I'll mention as we go through this.
Well, the thing is for me with the Earth 2, the current incarnation of Earth 2, it's not really a Justice Society in the book. There are Justice Society characters that have been in the book, but it doesn't feel like a Justice Society book. It feels like an Earth 2 book.
Right, so post-Convergence and everything, I'm assuming that's going to be the Society. Oh, and I should say Black Canary, Brendan Fletcher also taking the same Batgirl-like approach to Black Canary, and that's on purpose. And they also kind of want some of the bits from Arrow to sort of shine through, because they have a very big success with
Black
that show.
Canary starts wearing some hipster fucking thing in Arrow, I'm going to stop watching.
No, it's going to be the other way around. Midnighter by Steve Orlando and artist ACO. That's interesting. I don't guess group name maybe. I don't know. Midnighter, they said they were very happy with the success of Grayson. It's been doing way better than they expected. It's been doing better than Nightwing. And they really liked the Midnighter character from that, and they wanted to have him do some more stories, so they're going to do that. Batmite by Dan Jurgens and Corin Howell, and that is a miniseries.
I'm looking forward to that one.
There's two of them, and this is one of the miniseries. All ages comedy book. They're trying to go on more. Harley Quinn has been a huge success. They want more books like that. So Batmite, they said it's their first, and if it's successful, along with the one we'll talk about in a little bit, they will do more of them, either an ongoing or more miniseries or different characters. So if you like your comedy books, if you like things that are a little different, definitely pick that book up. Batman Beyond by Dan Jurgens and Bernard Chang. Very excited for that. I want to see what they do with Batman Beyond.
I've really enjoyed
the
Future's End.
Post Future's End, right.
With what is his name? I can't remember his secret identity name.
Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
Terry McGinnis.
Yeah. Terry McGinnis.
Terry. Cyborg by David Walker and Ivan Rice and Joe Prado. I saw some preview art from that. Looks amazing. Ivan Rice back to monthly book. So they're pushing Cyborg big.
Well, yeah, but if they can capture the essence that we got from Johns' Cyborg during Forever Evil, like those issues where it was just kind of him at the forefront, those were really good.
Dark Universe by James Tynion the Fourth and Ming Doyle. This is more than likely the Justice League Dark title, kind of renamed. Dark Universe is also the name of the rumored movie, right, by Guillermo del Toro.
Yep.
So it makes a lot of sense that if they're going to go ahead with that, name the book the same as the movie. Doomed by Scott Lobdell and Javier Fernandez. This is coming out of the Doomed storyline from Superman, so we're getting some more Doomsday stuff.
So if you really love your Doomsday stuff.
So here is a book that is maybe a little more continuity. You're driven, right? Because it's coming out of a big Superman crossover they came out with. So it's not like DC is going to have all weird indie-type comics. Justice League leading into Darkseid War is going to be this huge event, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, so I don't want to, they were trying to say we're going to have our cake and eat it too. We're going to do nice continuity-like books. We're going to do major shit like Justice League. You can do both in the same universe. Marvel's doing a great job of it right now.
Dark Universe might not even need to cross over with Darkseid War.
It probably won't.
So that's... it works.
Yeah. Harley Quinn, Power Girl. This is a miniseries. Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor, Justin Gray. Again, the Harley Quinn team, along with artist Stephanie Rowe.
They're the All-Star Western team.
That's
with
true.
A girl.
So Power Girl seemingly coming over from Earth 2. We'll see what's up with that. Red Hood.
Did you read those Harley Quinn Power Girl team up issues?
Yeah, really good.
It's amazing how flat-chested Harley Quinn looks.
Amanda
Connor did such an amazing job. Like, just it's hilarious. You read Harley Quinn, you're like, she's got some boobs, but then you throw Power Girl.
But she didn't draw it though.
Yeah, she did.
She did the covers.
No, she did the covers.
On the covers, yeah. But on the covers, it's hilarious. You can see it.
That's the joke.
I know.
Red Hood Arsenal that is Red Hood / Arsenal by Scott.
Are these two different characters?
Yes, they are. Red Hood and Arsenal.
Oh, geez.
By Scott Lobdell.
Two different characters.
And Dennis Midry. You may ask what happened to Red Hood and the Outlaws. Well, the reason Outlaws is gone is because we also have a solo Starfire book wearing her Teen Titans Go costume. So if you're a Teen Titans animated / Go costume. So for everyone saying, why don't we have a Starfire that's more close to the animated series? Here we go.
Written by
Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor. With Emanuela Lapacino as the artist. So that Starfire may be something, again, if they could nail what they've done with Harley with a Starfire book.
I have a feeling that team could. I mean, they've done something really cool with Power Girl more than just a chess girl. Right?
Yeah.
It's done something really cool with Harley Quinn. I mean, it's just, Starfire is like that next in order of that's just been, bedazzled by dudes, and it's time for her to be more to her than just that, right? So, that team can do it.
Harley has such a big female fan base for the character, but also for the comic book. We sell a large majority of the Harley Quinn comics to women. Like, I'd say maybe 50-50. Again, then that is a hard thing to do. Starfire could have that same sort of appeal.
Well, and the thing is with Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti especially, I mean, when they take a character and go with it, they do such an amazing job.
Yeah.
And, Amanda Connor just adds her flair to it. Because, I mean, I read the Harley book, and there's times where I'm like, what the heck is this book saying to me? And there's other times like, this book is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? But that's Harley, right? It's two sides, it's different. She's like, 1 second, she's this smart psychiatrist. The next, she wants to blow you up just because she's bored.
That's Harley. We Are Robin, maybe the most interesting book coming out. They haven't really said much about this book. Lee Bermejo writing it and doing covers. Artist by Rob Haynes and Carrie Randolph. This is, as they pitched it to us at the meeting, this is basically kind of a youth movement emulating Robin.
Which Robin?
Robin?
Doesn't matter.
Robin. So again, this is one of those books that are probably pretty continuity light, really trying to do something different, stand on its own, and if it works, they'll do something with it, and if it doesn't, it's over in 8 issues. But I mean, that's what they're, again, they're trying some very different takes.
Yeah.
Justice League of America, written and drawn by Brian Hitch. 2 years, but 6 issues are completely done and in the can. So we'll get at least 8 issues, according to Dan Didio, out of Brian Hitch on Justice League of America. Past that, he'll probably be writing it with another artist, and then he may come back and do special issues. And this is, again, a very continuity-free Justice League book. So the Justice League title by Jeff Johns is going to be the big, heavy continuity title, driven major story arcs. This is going to be, here's just awesome stories about the Justice League. Yeah. So very, very light if you just want something.
That's kind of like been my opinion of at least Batman. Like, Batman should be your main Batman book.
Yeah.
And Detective should be just cool stories about Batman. Same thing with like Superman in Action.
Yep. Bizarro, again, another 6-issue miniseries comedy title. Heath Corson and artist
that
Gustavo.
Looks really cool, too.
I like the promo art they have for it.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
Gustavo Duarte. Again, comedy series. If you like it, pick it up because they're really seeing if this and Batmite don't sell. I don't know, guys.
They've done it before though. I mean, the Jeff Smith Shazam was amazing.
Yeah,
that book is fantastic. I mean, that's another one where kind of departure. Mm-hmm. Then they had the Hero Bear, the Mike Kunkel kind of do the sequel to that, right? Yeah. I mean, they've done it before. I mean, this is the first time they're kind of pushing it, though. It seems like
what DC has said is that it doesn't matter what the book is. When it's a kid's book, DC can't sell them. Marvel can't sell them either. So this isn't a DC thing. This is Marvel can't sell kids' books either. Yeah. This is they're putting it in the main line. Yeah. But it's an all ages title. Yeah. They're trying a different approach.
Yeah.
When I shove my 2 copies of Bizarro, which is a DC kids book, on the bottom shelf and no one sees it, they don't sell. When I shove 25 copies of a mainline Bizarro all ages title on the main shelf, people will pick it up. Well, this is the difference.
Tiny Titans
does well for us, but again, we buck a trend that most stores can't sell Tiny Titans. We did really well with Tiny Titans. Prez, this I'm actually really excited for.
Me too.
This is Mark Russell and artist Ben Caldwell, who, again, really good artist. This is about a teenage girl who is voted president of the United States via Twitter. This is something that's going to be like the new Dial H, or one of those books that most people are never going to even look twice at, but is going to be something pretty cool. And I think
the art looks a little Scotty Youngish too. I kind of dig the art a lot.
This is going to be a big cult book, and I hope DC allows it to work for a while and let them do their thing. New Omega Men series, Tom King and artist Barnaby Bagenda. And DC pitched this at the meeting as actually like kind of a space murder mystery. So I'm very curious. I love the Omega Men. I want to see what they do with this. Mystic U is a tentative title. There's no information about this book. Elisa Whitney and artist Morissette. So I don't know any of them, and I don't know what the book's about. Hopefully it's good. Very appropriate timing. Section 8 by Garth Ennis and John McCrea. We're going to talk a lot about these guys in a little bit. This is the Hitman team, Section 8, including such great characters as Bueno Excelente and Dog Welder and Shakes, into a new ongoing or a new miniseries. Very excited for this. Garth Ennis back at DC. I cannot be more happy. Dr. Fate by Paul Levitz and artist Sonny Liu. I'm assuming this is the Earth 2 Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
Green Lantern Lost Army. Again, they just nixed all the Green Lantern books, so curious to see what this is about. By Colin Bunn and Jesus Saiz and Javi Pina. Justice League 3001 by Keith Giffen, DeMatteis, and Howard Porter. This continues Justice League 3000. And finally, Constantine, the Hellblazer by Ming Doyle and Riley Rossmo. Rumored to be the name of the new Constantine show that's going to be on Sci-Fi, because NBC owns Sci-Fi, and they're not picking up Constantine, but they're going to move it over to Sci-Fi.
That been confirmed?
That's your rumor for the week. So, and again, the title change to better tie in with the show being produced under the same name. So we will find out about that. There's a couple things in this that I think are going to fail horribly. There's a couple of things in this that I think are going to be fucking amazing. And there's some of the stuff that's going to be, middle of the road. I think DC's, compared to the books, if you look at the books that were launched right out the gate of the New 52, these are strong. These feel stronger than a lot of those titles. These feel stronger than a lot of the replacement titles. Again, they don't want you to buy all of these. I'll buy a lot of them. But they don't want you to buy all of these. They want new people to come in. They want different crowds. They want different creators.
They're putting out a variety of items for you to look at.
Can I also say that more than 50% of the line will be $2.99 or $2.99?
Excellent.
Sorry. Yeah, at least 50%. More likely more.
Now, before Bryce comes in and breaks down a door and everything, do you think this might be a little bit looking at what Marvel's doing? I mean, they had a huge hit with Hawkeye. Whether I liked it or not, they had a huge hit with Hawkeye.
Oh yeah.
The Daredevil did really good for them with Mark Waid taking a new direction.
Hawkeye, Miss Marvel,
She-Hulk,
right?
So
exactly.
Do you think they had? Yeah, I mean, they kind of took a page out of the Marvel book, going, "Hey, there's this whole other audience of people that will like these books."
100%. And I don't doubt that they tried some of that when they launched New 52, because you can remember they had like Animal Man and Swamp Thing and iVampire. They had a couple of horror books, but those didn't click with the audience as well as the audience that Marvel's had success with. And so
I mean, look at the line right now. I mean, we have books like Gotham Academy. We have Gotham by Midnight. We have
So the Batman relaunch of these titles. This was the experiment. Gotham by Midnight, Gotham Academy, Batgirl.
Yeah.
If these are successful, this is what led the road to this. This DC's like, let's take that approach, and Harley Quinn. Let's take this approach and apply it to the rest of the line, and this is what we're getting.
Well, the thing is, you're gonna getting rid of editorial and getting rid of this huge continuity.
They're not gaining.
I know. But getting rid of the negative editorial, I should say.
Yeah, and they're not getting rid of continuity. I mean, these books all still exist in the DC universe. It's just less of a focus on crossovers. And, major events.
You get a variety of books that hopefully give, in each instance, a fair amount of quality to them.
Yeah.
And that's what I think they're shooting for, because, again, it's better to have somebody come in and buy 7 DC titles and be completely and utterly happy with those titles and come in every week and get those 7 than somebody coming in and buying 15 titles and being on the verge of stop buying comic books altogether.
Well, a couple of funny things. Dan said that $3.99 books are about profit, pure and simple. except for the really high tier creators, $3.99 books are going to no one other than the company's pocket, which I thought was very funny. And they know Marvel sales numbers. I mean, they have a lot of stuff. If the books aren't selling well, $3.99 can help offset it. But it's like those books should be canceled and relaunched. And that's what DC's done. They're like, all our low selling books are getting axed, and we're going to replace them with something we think is stronger. Marvel does it too. They just
they don't reduce the price.
No, they're not going to. No, and DC, they said, they asked during the meeting. One of the retailers said, "Why don't all books be $3.99? We want that. No one cares about price. People only care about content," which everyone laughed. And they said, "How many people want all our books to be $3.99?" And like 2 people raised their hands.
What the hell? Are they rich?
Yeah, well, they said, well, no, they think they'll make more money of all the DC books for $3.99. But I'm like, but everyone was like, no, we want to sell 10 books instead of 7 or 6, right, for the same amount of money. Yeah. Then asked, hey, if we put digital codes in all the DC books, whether we raise the price or not, would you guys want that? And it was about 20, 25% maybe. I kind of was like a half. I was like, it depends on what you do with them, but they said they get less.
That's kind of like a two-sided sword because
on their combo packs, they said they get less than a 6% redemption rate. 6%.
Wow. Jeez. So that's basically Charlie and 5 other dudes.
Yeah.
Wow.
They actually want to get rid of them. They said.
To be honest with you, I mean, the digital reader is going to be a digital reader. The actual physical reader is going to be a physical reader. I don't think there's a lot of crossover.
Well, for me, it's like I only own a handful of free titles on my Comixology account.
Yeah.
And the only books I've actually paid for are collections of stories that I really, really enjoy, like when they had that Batman 75th.
Yeah, but that's you, though. That's you. I mean, there's a whole new generation that probably is only reading digital. They're used to...
No, I know.
It's like the new generation of kids that don't know how to wait for Saturday morning and just watch everything on Netflix. So, I mean, there's a whole new generation coming. So hopefully, we can please both.
We're going to move on in a little bit here to our book club pick of the month. But before we do that, yes, you guys...
I keep thinking back of
closing comments.
Just thinking back of all this change of things. I mean, Ecstatic's another book. Mm-hmm. That was so different at the time.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, and it's a cult favorite, actually. I mean, there's still people that like the whole collection of it and live by it and swear by it. So I hope we're going to see a lot of different kind of takes at the DC world with this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you have to, like you said, Ryan, you have to give books time to tell their story, right, and give them a little bit of space so that they can see if they can get their footing. If they're not, then stop them.
Yeah, right? and they will. Yeah, I think going back to what Dan Didio said about if you buy every DC comic, something's wrong. And I think that is a shocking thing to hear, but I actually think it makes so much sense. I really want to see what the line is for DC in a couple of years. I want to see if they stick to that or if they really pull back, because they could suffer some sales loss
initially,
but they'll have a stronger base audience.
Yeah.
And they said, if you go to the conventions, the crowd is not 500 straight white guys. It's 100,000 people of every race, gender, creed, sexual orientation, everything. It's right now the majority of the readers are superhero readers, right? I mean, if they can do quality books and say do less, and they buy more of those superheroes, but same numbers, but they say they give up 20-40% of those readerships, and they bring in a full 100% of readers that never even bought a comic book. Oh, right, yeah,
right. I mean, it's going to be huge. They could potentially do some good stuff here.
Well, what I think is interesting is you think superhero comics at this point between Marvel and DC run 60 to 70% of the market when you add them up at the end of the day, depending on the month, depending on what comes out. That used to be 98%, right? There is a shift. The shift is gradual, but we've seen Image. We've talked a number of times, past 10% of the market share a number of times now.
And they're growing.
That is big.
And they're growing.
Yeah. DC and Marvel need to take a lesson from that. I felt DC has always had books that felt different. They've had Vertigo. They've had some different books. Marvel's always played it pretty safe, book-wise to me. But I do feel there is some divergence, no pun intended, in the Marvel line these days. Books that I think really do stand out.
I think it's good. I mean, look at the Asian market. There's books for everything, possibly. So it's kind of nice to see this going kind of into a more open area.
And I think you can have superhero books that feel different from each other. Saying every superhero book is the same is like saying every manga is the same. It's not, right? I mean, they can have the same kind of backdrop, but they have different feels.
Yeah.
Something like Silver Surfer feels very different than Avengers. They're not the same book. Nowhere close.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, Grayson's a great prime example of that. Grayson is more of a spy book now.
Yeah.
Versus
Grayson's the other book. Right, that's one of the other books. Again, the Batman line. They tried to diverge from having 12 Batman books about Batman. Why don't we do something different?
Well, yeah.
And they did. Before we go on here, we got to thank a couple guys here from Patreon. If you are a top-tier backers, your books are on their way, so look for those real quick in the next week or so. But Ryan Hess and his region-free gaming at rfgpodcast.wordpress.com. Albert Soy, Mike Campbell, Niall Thomas, and Julian Titus. Julian, I believe you're sending me some info, so get that, and I will get that on the next episode. And I'll even throw you like a bonus one for next month or something, since since we're a little into this month. Niall had a question, though, before we continue. He says, Agent Carter versus Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is better?
Oh, dude, that's not even a contest.
I don't even think that's a question.
I'm gonna
that's not even a contest, yo.
Yeah, there's not even a question there. It's, I mean,
wow.
Shield has definitely gotten better, but Carter is pretty good out the door. So
absolutely,
they've done a really good job with Agent Carter. I'm one episode behind, I think, still.
Oh, man.
So, but it's definitely a fun show.
Well, the Howling Commandos episode, did you watch that one yet?
No. I think that's the next one.
It is cool. So. It is very, very cool.
Yeah,
and it seems like it's picking up really good. I mean, it's like Agent Carter, right off the bat, was more interesting, had better character development.
Oh, yeah.
Just right off the bat. I mean, you have Howard Stark there, you had Peggy in there, and, it's got a lot of the Captain America First Avenger tie-ins. It feels like a sequel to the first Captain America movie, really.
Yeah.
Just with different characters. And the story is a little stronger. And as you keep watching it, they have more Easter eggs. They have the whole Black Widow stuff starting up now. Spoiler, I'm sorry.
No, I heard that was coming.
Yeah. I mean, it is freaking cool. And it's kind of cool that they went into that. It's like, cool, that's a perfect place for them to go into it, too. Yeah, the beginnings of the Black Widow program. So I highly recommend Peggy Carter or Agent Carter over Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm sorry. Even though S.H.I.E.L.D., has gotten better in the second season to address a lot of the problems I had with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, I mean, there's something that's off the bat good versus something that, you have to, grow into and hoping it's going to get even better.
Yeah.
Agent Carter.
Yeah. I might as well do a question or two here because we got a few quick ones. Mitchell, Brock's buddy Mitchell, asks,
what's up, Mitch?
How good is Batman Endgame, and do I need to read anything before that story arc to know what's going on? No, you don't. Well, you may want to read Death of the Family first, but Batman Endgame is great, and I mean, just read Endgame. Or just read Death of the Family first.
Yeah, you don't need to read the tie-in issues.
Not Death in the Family, not the classic 80s book.
Well, no, he should read that anyway.
It's one of my favorites.
Everyone should read that anyway.
You should. It's a really good book. But Death of the Family, the current Scott Snyder.
First read Death in, and then read Death of, and then read Endgame.
Yeah. Timothy on Twitter asks, which book will last longer, Guardians 3000 or Bucky Barnes? Has to be Guardians.
Yeah, Guardians 3000.
Although I gave up on that book too. I liked it for an issue or two, but Bucky Barnes is terrible.
Bucky Barnes,
I could not make it through the first issue.
I struggled through, I think, 2 issues, maybe 2.5.
Yeah,
and like Guardians 3000, I can at least stomach because I want to read more about that Guardians team.
Yeah,
like I mean, I have that stuff bound.
Yeah.
But it's like, so there's some interest there. They're just doing all this weird time stuff. Yeah, and so it's just kind of, what the heck? There's like, you don't know what's going on. Like, I think we're like 3 issues deep, 4 issues deep.
Yeah, something like that.
Whereas Bucky Barnes just out the gate was just like, what?
Yeah, book is weird,
and the art isn't that great. And like, the art doesn't work for that book.
No. One last one here from Joshua. Says, have you heard about John Diggle potentially being Jon Stewart? What are your thoughts? Have you heard about this?
No.
There's a big push from fans, but now actually from the actors and people involved in Arrow. Again, kind of rumor talk that John Diggle from Arrow, who was former military, now works as Oliver Queen's bodyguard turned part of the Scooby Gang.
Yeah, I don't know.
His name is like, oh, my nickname was Diggle. My actual last name is Stewart, right?
Yeah, I think this is kind of like the fans going, wait, could it?
This is like, if you ask me, this is exactly like fucking Skye from S.H.I.E.L.D., who was never, ever in a million years supposed to be whatever her name is.
Yeah, a character from
Totally not.
Daisy.
Totally not. And then they were like, shit, what are we going to do with this useless character?
The thing is,
let's make her into this other character.
The difference between Skye and Diggle is that Diggle's actually a decent character on
Diggle's
his own.
awesome.
Like,
I kind of don't want that.
Me too. I don't want him to grow on his own.
I think that ruins the whole universe that they've built around Arrow, and at least with him bleeding into the comics, because it was just like a natural progression for him to come into the comic books.
Yeah. I would. It'd be awesome, maybe, but I kind of don't want it. Now, if they gave him just a ring and they're like, his name is John Diggle, but wink.
I don't know about this. I kind of want it to be more like a Harley thing, something that happened in a different medium and they bring it over to the books. But I think that's a little far-reaching.
Yeah, we'll see.
On the other hand, though, I want Ollie to stop being a complete jerk to Diggle all the time. It's almost like Diggle is kind of like the smarter one. No, you should do this. Well, tell you, Diggle, I'm the boss. I'm going to do this stupid thing.
Well, Toby, why don't you hand me my copy of Hitman over there so I can prep this book club pick. So very late. I'm sorry about this, guys. I've had the last couple of weeks. I've been a little nuts here. But we are moving on with our book club pick of the month here. And Bryce and from January. And Bryce and
wait, this is Bryce's pick?
This is my pick. But Bryce and Charlie will hopefully talk next week about this. Yeah, but this is Hitman Volume 1 of Agent Arkham. This is the Demon Annual that introduces Hitman. A very early short appearance, and then the first, I believe, 3 issues of his ongoing series.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 issues. There's a story arc in between the Demon one and the issues.
It's the Batman one shot, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The entire series, written by Garth Ennis, drawn by John McCrae. This is when people say the 90s sucked for comic books. I always say it sure did, except for Sandman and Starman and Hellblazer and Sin City, and I rattle on 1,000 books, but always very, very, very top of that list, or one of those is Hitman. This came out of Bloodlines, one of the absolute worst DC crossovers ever. They launched like 12 books out of Bloodlines or something crazy. All of them were canceled within a year, with the exception of Hitman.
Yeah.
There's some terrible books. Basically, aliens.
I've seen them when going through people's.
It was like one of their annual crossovers,
processing books, and it's just like they're garbage.
No,
Blood Pack.
Yeah, I think that's one of them. Yeah. Now there was one of the guys in the Facebook group said, there's not a lot of backstory to kind of how Hitman gets formed. You don't really need it, because all that matters is he gets bit by an alien and gains like X-ray vision, like a small level of telepathy, or like telepathic ability to read minds and stuff, and then kind of like some forms of super strength. Everything else about Hitman builds through the course of his book. Yeah. It's kind of like if you ever read the Garth Ennis Punisher series, which he was like, I'm the Punisher. I died. I became an angel. Now I'm human again. Like, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about the rest. Hitman's very much like that. You don't have to worry about the origin. Just know how he got his powers and be done with it, and never worry about it, because Bloodlines is fucking terrible. But absolutely one of my favorite comics. He's a hitman who he was former. I don't know if he was former IRA Tommy Monaghan. He was. I don't think he was. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been such a long time since I read the main series. But he moved to Gotham, kind of, and became a professional hitman, fighting a bunch bunch of very definitely kind of Dick Tracy-esque villains, especially in that first issue. This launched out of the Garth Ennis, John McCrea Demon series with Etrigan the Demon and all that, and Demon pops up pretty often in the Hitman series after that book started going. He ends up just with these superpowers, and he's like, I'm not going to be a superhero, fuck that. Yeah. I'm going to kill people. I'm just going to kill superhuman people or superpowered people or be in situations that require, these new powers I have. This is really literally just the beginning. Like, especially for people that have read Hitman, go on, what happens. You know where this book goes. It is, I don't want to say it's as good as Preacher. It's not. But this is kind of Preacher, I don't think would have happened if it wasn't for Hitman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think Hitman is where Ennis kind of got that
feel for the idea, maybe for it.
A little bit.
I mean, you start getting somebody itch for it and go, wait, I could do all this other stuff.
Because he worked on Hellblazer for a number of years, and then I think between Hellblazer and Hitman, Ennis did work on Judge Dredd and a bunch of other books before Preacher. But a combo of Hitman and Hellblazer is really where, and especially he did with Steve Dillon a number of issues of Hellblazer. That is, I mean, Hellblazer I think is more concretely where Preacher started, but Hitman I still think there's that essence. There's some of that is still there. That I think that some aspects of what would become Preacher.
Well, kind of the outrageousness of
definitely
some of it is But I'll let you finish. No.
This has one of the most classic scenes in Hitman history, and it was right out the gate. He goes to fight Batman, or I'm sorry, Batman goes to fight him, I should say. He's just trying to finish his job and kill what was a Lord of the Gun.
Yeah.
Kind of a god that was created around the use of firearms. Yeah. So perfect guy for Hitman to go up against. And Batman punches Tommy in the gut, trying to knock him out, and just to prove that this isn't a comic like you normally see, he then proceeds to throw up all over Batman.
Sounds like Omar a little bit.
Yeah, not and Batman looks at him and then knocks him through the sky. Definitely not your typical story. There's a lot of that in Hitman 2 if you read. There is what most people consider to be actually one of the best Superman stories ever written, was an issue of Hitman where him and Superman just sit on a rooftop in Gotham and just talk. It's pretty amazing. There's a great... I also really like it when Hitman tries out for the Justice League in, and he goes, "Okay, I just want to come and see Wonder Woman naked. I'm done. See you guys." Yeah, that was in the Grant Morrison.
Yeah. Those 2 issues, right?
Yeah, well, that was later, but there was in the Grant Morrison when they were recruiting new members of the Justice League. They're like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "I just came to see Wonder Woman," and he just walks off. There's another great 2-parter with Kyle Rayner, who had just become Green Lantern, kind of Hitman putting him through the paces. And then there's The Night at the Aquarium, which I will say no more. Just go find those issues. Hitman, one of my absolute favorite comics. I would give this collection... I'll be honest, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I don't think this is not where this is the start. This is the beginning. It gets... I don't want to say it gets better like this is bad. It's just you just get the barest minimal of kind of what is to come in this series. So if you do like this, keep reading. I implore you to keep reading.
It's sort of like 100 Bullets. When you keep reading that, it just goes deeper and bigger and huger. And you think you have the book figured out, but you don't.
No, I mean, Hitman really is about a guy in his sort of dysfunctional family and what he'll do to protect his friends and family. And it's pretty sincere. It's especially towards the end, it gets pretty emotional. It's not a traditional comic. It's one creative team the entire run through the book, so it has that Vertigo feel to it, even though it's set in the DC universe. The series itself, 11 out of 10, one of my all-time favorites. This is, again, just the start. It really gets you started. If you like it, please keep reading. Absolutely one of my favorites. Brock, why don't you give us a little pitch here?
I think that, Hitman's always sat on the...
I'm sorry. Can I say one thing before I continue?
No, I'm going to fucking cut you off.
Much like Steve Dillon, John McCrea is not the nicest artist in the world.
No.
It's a very dirty art style. It's very bizarre. It's very UK.
It's very Simon Beasley-like.
It's very Beasley. Very, very Simon Beasley. Very 2000 AD. It's not your typical art.
I mean, he has moments of really nice.
If you don't like it, like Steve Dillon. I know some people don't like Steve Dillon.
I hate Steve Dillon.
But you got to keep going through because those characters, I can't see them any other way.
This I can look at.
Sort of
Romita
like Sin
Jr.
City
I
all
cannot.
over again.
Yeah.
I can't.
So go ahead.
Like Romita Jr. is worse than this. So.
Oh, I love John McCrae. He Steve Dillon, one of my favorites because it's not normal. It is something different, and I love his art style. It's just so raw and just so dirty.
Yeah.
The Hitman series, when I first came back to the shop about 8 years ago, I think these were still coming out or just started coming out again.
Oh, the trades?
The trades?
Yeah.
And then they stopped.
Yeah, they didn't finish it. But now they have.
But now they have. And it's like, so for me, I'm like, I wanted to pick this up. I wanted to check it out. So I'm glad that you picked it as a pick so I could check it out. And I mean, reading Preacher and stuff like that, this is a very... I think once I flipped to the back of the book, or once I flipped to see what this contained, it was a little more understandable because it was really awkward at first with that demon story and then the little Batman thing in between, and then finally getting into the Hitman issues. So I understand why they mapped it like that, but if you didn't know that going in, you might be like a little off-put.
So Hitman does appear in a number of issues of Demon, I think before his actual series even starts. So I wonder why they didn't just do a Demon trade first and then start with Hitman number 1. I think there's enough stories, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Demon Annual 2 and the Batman Chronicles number 4. So, no, reading it, I mean, I loved Garth Ennis' Preacher. This definitely had aspects of that, a good feeling of that. I mean, just some outrageous things like the Shadow Force, right? That he just
opening page kills them all,
and they're all dead, and then he goes and he's hanging out with his buddies. And
so a lot of people say Garth Ennis hates superheroes, yet he's done some of the absolute best bits of modern day superhero, especially that Superman story. So I think he hates superheroes. I think he just hates the Shadow Force, sort of shit.
Yeah.
That's what he hates. That
he
stuff.
Hates the excessive overuse of trying to make a team out of everything, and
he tries to do something different with a superhero where that Shadow Force is a parody. It's a joke. It's Youngblood. It's trying to parody that 90s superhero gritty team bullshit. Yeah.
It's
you'll see a lot of that through the series.
What is that one? What is that one title?
Also on the
Rob Liefeld one. That's a joke.
Yeah. The Boys. Yeah, absolutely.
What's that one? That's the Rob Liefeld.
Doom Force.
Doom Force.
Yeah. Well, again, that's Grant Morrison completely taking the piss out of Rob Liefeld. Yeah.
So not to give too much away, but at some point in the book, he ends up in Arkham. And
this is the first arc. He has a contract to kill the Joker.
Yeah, he had a contract to kill the Joker. But he's in Arkham, right? And I just laughed my fucking ass off at just one page out of this, and it was literally, he's it starts. I'm going to read a little bit. It goes, okay, let's earn a little loose change, right? And so literally, he starts going to cells and just offing dudes. This is shooting fish in a barrel.
Earlier in the issue, the guy says, "Hey, since you're breaking in to kill the Joker, can you kill these other guys? There's contracts out."
I love that part.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, since you're doing this, there's a lot more money for you.
And then at the end of the page, after you go, dunk, 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 shooting fish in a barrel, it goes, "Do I feel bad about this? Do you feel bad when you flush the toilet?" I'm like, oh, see, that's where Ennis shines, is those little kind of moments of just yeah, I said it. What? So,
absolutely.
I mean, definitely, like you said, not something that's high up in the rankings, but I would definitely say that for fun and just overall enjoyable experience, especially if you just want something different. I mean, 8 out of 10. I would give it 8 out of 10, Ryan.
If you enjoy Preacher, read Hitman, because like I said, keep going past the first trade. It builds such incredible levels.
Is that for? I need to actually. There's 7, right? Total
7 or 8, yeah, but it stays ridiculous as well. It's not like it gets so serious that it's not fun anymore.
Pick up these trades.
Now, I think you say it's 8 out of 10 Ryans just because you know the whole series. I, on the other hand, that don't know the whole series. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10 Ryans. But I can see where it's getting better because I did feel a little lost in the early issues with the demon issues. And then when it hit the actual Hitman issues, it started picking up right away. A lot further, faster. So I did take that part, and I do want to read a lot more of it. I also liked it that he has a kind of a heart because he can't kill good guys. So he's all like, I can't kill Batman because he's a good guy, and he's actually kind of struggling with it. I kind of thought that was kind of funny.
Again, he thinks he's doing good. He's not taking
which is kind of part of the joke too, right? I mean, it's kind of like what makes this character funny and interesting. So I do enjoy this book quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to reading the next one. Yes, the art looks very much like kind of like Simon Beasley-ish. Very, very. I mean, that's the first thing I was thinking of it. I was like, it's very much like the body count, the Turtles mini that Beasley did with Eastman. It's stylish. It's cool though. I mean, it didn't bug me. So I'm actually looking forward to the next one. I think it's fun. So 7 out of 10 Ryans.
I think you see McRae kind of get into his groove as the book goes on.
It seems like it too. Before he was super loose, and then he kind of figured out his style too.
There's moments in those early issues where like it just like close-ups of certain faces and stuff.
Well, again, the early issues he's still trying to figure things out.
I know, but there's some really good detail that he does in some of the, like just the closer up shots, whereas like you'll have just a kind of another shot that's a little wider and it's just like a scribble.
Well, I don't know if it's like an inker or something that really kind of polishes up that back half too, because you could tell, it does feel different.
Do you think the Hitman might have been an accident? Do you think Garth started writing him into the demon storyline and then all of a sudden go, wait a minute, there's a lot of cool stuff we could do with him?
Well, Bloodlines was a miniseries created for DC where they were going to create like 40 new characters.
Oh, I see.
And they gave a bunch of them their own. I could pull up a list here if I can. They gave them all their like kind of new books. It was DC's new 12 or new 10 or whatever, right? I mean, they launched a bunch of books out of this. The problem is they were all fucking awful. Just all awful across the board. Yeah. Bloodlines is the book that when Jeff Johns wants to kill a character, he goes back and finds characters created from Bloodlines. And it's like, quick, let's off all these idiots. But like all of these, 0 Hour, nothing really, not too much out of 0 Hour really clicked, except for Starman.
Yeah.
You have one book. It makes the entire thing worthwhile.
That's one of your favorites, too.
Absolutely. Bloodlines, it was Hitman. All that shit is worth it for Hitman alone, because it is one of the best books from the 90s, hands down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Glad you guys enjoyed it. And I definitely want to see if you read more, especially if you're fans of Preacher. I'd love to hear what you guys think, so...
Oh, Preacher, I need to go back and reread that.
Yeah, I really need to before the series starts.
I need to get over the art. I can't get over the art.
You can't. You're not a Steve Dillon fan?
I just can't. No. I mean,
the amount of graphic detail Steve Dillon has in his books, even with that art style, it is amazing. Like,
I know there's fans. There's flat out Steve Dillon fans out there. And I read the Punisher story that that team did, and even then it was like the Punisher was what's dragged me through it, and the story kind of dragged me through. But it's not one of my favorites. I know for some people it is, and there's a lot. I mean, that's when Punisher kind of went back to his roots and became violent and stuff like that, and that's kind of what people wanted at the time. So cool for that. But
for the style that Dillon has, that doesn't feel like it's going to be overly graphic. Man, does every book he draws, it's just people's eyes exploding or getting gutted or people fucking sheep. Like, he gets so graphic. Yeah, I love it.
Nothing against it. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, no. But here's the thing. I couldn't imagine Hitman or Preacher done by, like, Jim Lee. It wouldn't look right. That's not the character.
That's where we go back to, like, originally when I would not read the Sin City books. I would just not. I did not understand. I didn't think the art was any good.
Yeah.
And then one day I actually sat down and read the Damned to Kill For, and I'm like, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I couldn't see in any other ways now, just because the art fits the story so well, right? And I was like, I was an ignorant bastard before that, thinking that this doesn't work.
Get through Preacher, man. Keep reading.
Just get to go fuck yourself. Just get to that line in the first trade.
Second trade or so.
No, it's the first trade.
Might even have the first two trades at home. I'm not
just
even sure.
Get to go fuck yourself, and you're there.
Yeah.
Like that's all. That's all it takes.
I mean, at this point, I'm even a Frank Miller Sin City fan. I mean, art wise too. I have prints of it and stuff like that. But prior to that, I was like, no, that's a no go, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's one of those things where certain writers and stories work exceedingly well with certain artists.
Well, right. I mean, guys like Steve Dillon and John McCrae are Garth Ennis's friends, right? I mean, this isn't like just some guy he was stuck with. They are long-time friends.
They get along, and it shows through the book that they're having fun.
Right. They work together so well because they know each other.
Do you necessarily... Are you able to see like a Jeff Johns written Steve Dillon book?
Huh?
I mean, and that's the thing. I think it wouldn't really work as well.
Yeah.
When I see Steve Dillon drawn books not by Garth Ennis, I'm kind of like...
What is wrong?
This isn't quite right.
The world is not right.
People liked his Deadpool because he did the Deadpool with Daniel
Way?
Daniel Way. And I know people like that, but even that, when I was reading through some of it, I'm like, it's just not the same. But what can you do? All right. Don't forget Brock's pick, Day Tripper.
Day Tripper.
Vertigo graphic novel by Gabriel Ba and
Fabio Moon.
Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba.
Yeah.
That's right.
You can say it either way.
Yeah. So we'll go over that book in a couple weeks.
I can't wait. I need to break open my hardcover.
And with the new 24, I guess we'll call it for the time being, clearly as time goes on and there's more
well, I mean, we're gonna be doing Convergence talk as it's going on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As we do with Secret War, just because Bryce is not here, I have to represent for him.
Oh, we'll absolutely do. No, we'll absolutely talk Secret War as well. And I know next week, Bryce, hopefully he's back. And Brian Michael Bendis.
I am so excited for Nico Minoru to be back.
Who?
Nico.
Oh, yeah.
From Runaways.
Runaways, yeah. Brian Michael Bendis leaving X-Men and the new Avengers book. I mean, we do have some Marvel stuff to talk about, Bryce. So next week when you're back on, I know you're listening, we'll cover all your Marvel stuff from this week too, because there's a lot to talk about. But we are going to go ahead and wrap up now. Thank you guys for coming down. Toby, thank you for coming in, even though you were late. This episode...
F you, I wasn't late.
I'm joking.
You started early. That's a difference.
That is true.
We had a throwback about 10
minutes of it. This episode and all our previous episodes are available at geekbox.net. Don't forget to discuss this episode at forums.geekbox.net and the Geekbox Facebook group. Go and talk to those guys. Good guys over there. I try to jump in whenever I can. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. A lot of digital comics up there. Go get those. Don't forget to subscribe. Every time I mention it, someone goes, "You could subscribe?" Yes. You can subscribe to your digital comics and not have to worry about going back to the site every month to buy them.
You just have to make sure you can make the payment.
Though. That could be a dangerous path.
You still get charged for them.
You're like 4 years later, you go back, wait a minute, what is this real bad run?
Yeah.
I'm doing horrible. Don't subscribe, everybody. Do not worry. It's always going to be awesome, even when the creators change.
Yeah.
The sales are awesome.
The sales are very good, yeah.
They're doing Spawn right now, or they just finished Spawn?
They just put up Spawn 1 through 250. I don't know if the bundle's still up. They did have all of them for like $175 or something for all 250 issues of Spawn, which, if you're a Spawn fan, that's an awesome deal.
Am I being greedy when I think their big bundles should be even cheaper? Am I being greedy? Like, sometimes they have full runs or something, and it's like, I don't know, hundreds of something issues, and at $1 each, which is a great deal, I'm not denying that, but when you buy the entire run, we're talking about $120 at times, $150 at times. I almost wish like they would like super slash if you just go, I'll buy the entire run.
I mean, I think they do it.
I mean, am I being greedy? I mean...
No, you're being reasonable because it's literally costing them... nothing.
Yeah, but still, though, you gotta still be fair to, what they created and,
you have to pay the creator, you have to pay the company, you have to pay Comixology, you have to pay this comic store or Apple or Microsoft, you have to pay the people that are making the book in a digital format, they reformat it all, they set it all up. I mean, digital comics are not free. I mean, they are...
There's a lot of things behind.
There's a lot of upfront work, and then they just kind of sit there and make profit over time. So, I mean... here's what I think you're going to see more humble. I think you're going to see more humble bundles. I think that's where you're getting your price from, because humble bundles are like $20 for like 400 issues of Star Trek. Why not? Right?
I mean, that's kind of to the extreme to what I'm saying. But when there's like a good Jeff Johns run, like I don't know, the entire Green Lantern run, if I wanted to buy at a dollar sale, that's a lot of money still.
$100 or something.
Yeah, that's still a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
But, Humble Bundle might have something to do with it.
They did 250 issues for $175. That's... What's that, like 20-30% off or whatever, 20% off or something. So I'm
not saying they're not fair. I'm just saying I wish there was a bigger, giant bundle price for click. Yeah. I buy all, right? Sure. As opposed to even having to click all of them. They
do have bundle.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, that's what that is. It's a bundle for all two.
For me, I mean, buying the stories that I enjoyed from the Batman sale, and it was like $4 for the trade bundle of it, and I'm like,
I see those. I see the trade sales and stuff like that.
For that, because it's just, to me, it's like I can have it if I'm on a plane or whatever. I'm like, you know what? I want to reread Hush.
Do you though?
Do I get it on a plane? Not really, but
because you don't, because it's connected to the internet, isn't it?
No, you download.
I'm just being ignorant. I don't know.
You would download it to your device.
Can you actually download it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, you can't download it to keep on your device. You have
but that's what you need if you're going on plane.
There's an offline mode.
Oh, there's offline.
You can download X amount of issues to sort of sit on your hard drive.
Okay.
Patreon.com/Comic Conspiracy. That's Patreon. Give us some money. ConspiratorBrock.com. That is Brock's blog. ComicsIntoKind.com. Omar living it up in the 808
Have we even gotten
state.
an update from him?
He's surfing.
Oh,
he's eating food.
Is he?
He's playing basketball. Or he's on the beach, I should say. He's playing basketball, and he's eating. And he's on the beach, and he's eating. And he's on the beach, and he's playing basketball. And he's playing basketball.
Then he's at a pool.
And then he's at a pool. And then he's at the beach. And then he's eating. This is Omar.
There's
Omar's
no bars?
He doesn't need no bars. He got beaches and drinks.
Infinite Long Box Podcast and The Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension. Those are Charlie's other podcasts. Go listen to those. I'm on Twitter, Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Omar is Comics Into Kind. Bryce Larson is Larson Bryce. Toby is Toby XI. And Charlie is Insanity in Chaos. Go at us all. And don't forget to listen to the Geekbox Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, and the All Talk podcasts. All the other podcasts on our little Geekbox network. Go give those guys a listen. None of them need the hits except for us and All Talk. So the others, you already listen to the others.
If you listen to the others, tell your friends who listen to the others about us.
That is correct. So we could do that.
We would like to influence some more people.
Yeah. All right. That's it. We're out, and we'll catch you guys next week.